have a shadow work workbook, and I've had a reoccurring piece of feedback that has come from some of the closest people in my inner circle when it comes to how I react to situations. And that is some shadow work that I've been leaning into. And when I say the shame part of it, and also in regards to this episode of making light of it, there's this really interesting thing of like making light of it in the sense that keep things light and airy and open, but not taking them seriously. There's still a serious element to things that you're walking through and lessons that you're learning, but you don't have to necessarily hold. Like, I just associate when people give me feedback that I immediately am like, you're not good enough. Why do you do this?
Right.
Why can't you learn? Why can't you be a kinder person? And I start going down that path. And it's like, no, we're going to redirect this. Let's explore why I get so defensive. Let's explore why I feel the need to be heard or validated. And that's on me. That's not on anybody else. But it's really great that I have people in my corner that feel comfortable to say, this could be an area you could work on.
Well, and that's the thing with shadow work too, is like, to your point, like, yes, we're always working on something, but we can bring curiosity and compassion and sometimes even humor into it to illuminate those like dusty cobweb areas, whether it's physically, emotionally, mentally, that we're all going through.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that if I'm going to take anything away from what happened, is that there's ways that we can reframe what's happening, because again, it's all perspective, right?
Sure, totally.
So my perspective in that moment of what was going on is completely different than my perspective of my daughter, who is terrified that she's going to lose her mom,
Mm-hmm.
or my husband, who is terrified that he's going to lose his wife, or the ER doctor that is like, I've had 10 anaphylactic patients today. She's going to be fine, right? Whatever it is, like, it's all perspective.
It is.
And so I just want to share some tips on reframing some of these hard, shadowy moments of our life.
Love it.
So, number one, and I think that this could be beneficial for you, Rachel, when you were talking about what you were just sharing with like being so hard on yourself, right? And that is, name your inner critic or your intrusive thoughts. If you give them a name, right? You're like, God, shut up, Nancy, right? Like, that bitch just wasn't fucking shut up. Whatever it is, you give them a name, and then it's almost like you can have a conversation with that part of yourself rather than thinking, God, this is me. This is bad. This is a bad part of who I am. And so that would be one tip to reframe. I think another one would be visualizing your fear or your limiting belief in a funny way. So if you can visualize it, you know how they tell you when you get up on stage and you're like to visualize everybody naked?
Yeah.
Kind of the same thing, but if you can visualize that in like a cartoony way, or like, oh, here's this shadowy piece of my personality, but it's really this like raccoon that's just always over here eating stale donuts out of somebody's trash. Like,
love it. Okay. Nancy,
you know, then like give it a story, right? It doesn't have to just be like this doom and gloom part of ourselves.
For sure.
And then this one I really like. So give yourself the 5-year-old test. So imagine that this shadowy self of your personality or whatever, your behaviors, as a small child is throwing a temper tantrum.
Mm-hmm.
Now, instead of yelling back at them, which we know what happens when you yell at a toddler that's having a tantrum, nothing good. Or you can scoop them up and you can hand them an ice cream cone and you can just tell them that they're safe. So if we visualize that in our own minds, we're like, it's okay. Like, we don't have to beat ourselves up.
No. And I think hugging yourself, like,
right,
literally hugging yourself and giving yourself an ice cream cone and saying out loud, you're safe, I think is such an important exercise. Because, you know, It's funny you should say that, because I have a 5-year-old and there are moments when parenting her where, you know, naturally I find myself yelling, and then, you know, Emmeline will do the same thing because she's mirroring what I'm doing. So it's like, okay, we have to redirect the sails here. You can get it to go in a different direction. Not always. Sometimes they're
Right.
they're a little crazy, as we all are.
But it's how we approach it.
It's how we approach
Yeah.
it. Yeah, for sure. It's always going back to that inner child.
It is. And, I always think about this. Charlie has such a unique way of approaching teaching that I feel like there's so many lessons that we can take from that on like a daily like circumstance, And I just watch and I'm like, man, how does his brain work that way just automatically? Like he just automatically knows what to do and how to do it.
Well,
to
he's like a
get
chameleon.
what he needs.
Yeah.
In that moment. And it's also why I think he was absolutely so fantastic when he was working in an autistic classroom.
Yeah.
Like he was just able to connect with people on a different level. And it's like intuitively within him.
Right.
It's
right.
I wish I could bottle that.
And there are people that are just unbelievably gifted at doing that. And then there are people that are not unbelievably gifted. Right. And you have that, they may have the scholastic studies and the degrees to show for it, but then in action you're like, nope, it
all comes back to ego.
This is not your calling.
I think it all
for
comes
sure.
back to ego.
For sure.
Like when you're in your head, like it changes everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the other part of this episode that really is making light of it is talking about light itself, talking about the sun in the sky and